The town of Riverstone was buzzing. Posters hung on lamp posts. Radio stations announced it every hour. And social media was ablaze with debates. Damian Cross, a sharp-tongued political speaker, was set to give his biggest rally yet. For years, he had drawn both loyal followers and fierce critics. To his supporters, Damian was a fearless truth-teller. To his enemies, he was reckless, dangerous, and divisive. By late afternoon, the Riverstone Civic Hall was packed. Police officers lined the perimeter while volunteers ushered in guests. Metal detectors beeped at the entrance. But the crowd was too large to check carefully. Some people cheered, waving flags with Damian's name. Others gathered outside the hall, holding signs that read, "Stop the hate," and "No more lies." Inside, Damian walked onto the stage, dressed in his usual tailored suit, his grin wide and confident. The spotlight caught his face as he raised a hand to silence the cheers. "My friends," he began, his voice echoing through the hall. "We are here not just to talk politics, but to fight for the future of this nation." Applause thundered. Cameras flashed. The energy in the room felt electric, almost combustible. Damian thrived on this tension. It was his battlefield. But in the far back corner, just beyond the glow of the lights, a figure stood still. The person wore a dark hoodie pulled low over their face. They weren't clapping. They weren't cheering. Their eyes stayed locked on Damian, unblinking. As Damian launched into his fiery speech, the air seemed to shift. The tension was no longer only about politics. It was something heavier, more dangerous. A chill moved through the crowd, unnoticed by most, but undeniable to the few who turned and saw the hooded stranger's hand disappear into a bag. The night was just beginning, but destiny was already tightening its grip. The rally was halfway through when the mood cracked. Damian's words grew sharper, pushing against the boundaries of safety. He named enemies, mocked rivals, and fueled the crowd's roar. Security shifted uneasily. They had seen protests before, but something about tonight felt different. Outside, protesters chanted louder, their voices spilling into the hall. A bottle smashed against the side entrance, followed by a scream. Police rushed to block the doors. The atmosphere inside turned chaotic. Some shouted encouragement, others cursed back at the protesters. On stage, Damian raised his arms high, basking in the chaos as if it were his crown. "They want to silence us," he shouted. "But they cannot stop the truth." That was when it happened. A deafening crack split the air. For a second, the audience froze in disbelief. Then came the screams. Some ducked. Others rushed for the exits. The cameras shook violently as live streamers scrambled for cover. Damian staggered, clutching his chest, his microphone crashing to the ground with a hollow thud. Blood blossomed across his shirt. Gasps turned into frantic shouts. "He's been shot." The hooded figure was already moving, slipping through the chaos like a shadow. Security lunged, but the crowd was too thick, the panic too wild. Chairs toppled, glass shattered, and the sound of running feet drowned out everything else. Paramedics pushed through, kneeling beside Damian as his eyes fluttered. He tried to speak, but only blood filled his throat. His hand reached toward the bright stage lights, trembling, before falling limp. The man who had thrived on noise and chaos now lay silent. And in that silence, Riverstone would never be the same again. News spread like wildfire. Within minutes, phones buzzed with push notifications. Speaker Damian Cross shot at rally. The nation seemed to stop breathing. Some rejoiced quietly in corners of the internet. Others wept openly, posting prayers and tributes. Police barricaded the civic hall, helicopters circling above. Investigators swarmed the scene, picking up shell casings, gathering terrified eyewitnesses. The hunt for the hooded shooter became the top priority. Who were they? A political extremist? A personal enemy? A faceless protester lost in anger? By morning, Damian's death had become a dividing line across the country. Supporters called him a martyr, demanding justice. Critics, though shocked, said his words had planted the seeds of his own destruction. Talk shows, podcasts, and street debates erupted with arguments. Was he a hero, or had he simply ignited too much fire to survive? Meanwhile, a shaky video uploaded by a witness went viral. It showed the moment Damian fell, the scream of the crowd, and, just barely visible, the hooded figure slipping out the side door. The shooter was now both a villain and, in some corners, a twisted symbol of resistance. In Riverstone, The civic hall stood closed, surrounded by flowers, candles, and angry graffiti. The people mourned, fought, and questioned all at once. Some feared more violence to come. Others whispered that this was only the beginning of something darker. And somewhere in the city, the hooded figure walked free, blending into the crowd, faceless and nameless, carrying with them the knowledge that one bullet had turned Damian Cross from a man into a legend. The echo of that shot would not fade. Not for Riverstone. Not for the country. Not for anyone.